Welcome into the Pitt Week edition of the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, joined by senior writer for Warchant.com, Corey Clark, as well as director of original content for Warchant.com and the EP, that's the executive producer of the Jeff Cameron Show, Tom Lang. The Warchant Report is powered by Cummins. Go check them out over on Instagram. Cummins Lifestyles, all one word. It's time to get out there and do cool stuff. But when you go out there to do cool stuff, you need portable, reliable, quiet power. Guess who fills that role for all of us? Cummins, everybody. The own-in line of products, whether it's for your portable generator, portable power station, the boat, the RV. Get out there in the great outdoors. Know that you got all the power you need to get all your activities done at the most fun possible level because of Cummins. They're an industry power leader, been doing it for over 100 years. Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. Give them a follow on Instagram. Coming out to the meet and greet over the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 5 p.m. on Friday. You should see all three of the faces on this screen right here.
Yeah.
Live in the flesh. We'll shake some hands and we'll talk some Noles. Let's talk some Noles and get right to it now, Corey. You do, obviously, Seminole headlines every week with Jeff Cameron and Ira Schofel. Ira's done some really good reporting here. I feel like some good context he's given us over at warchant.com about the struggles for Florida State, making the kind of comparison that maybe Tommy needs to be less XRM, less Xavier Rattan-Mays, and more of a Trent Forrest, less of a two-guard, more of a facilitator. But, like, what's the likelihood that this team can reprogram Tommy to be this daring playmaker to, more of a cautious, responsible steward of possessing the football?
Yeah,
I
would say if we're going to keep that example or that comparison, it's like, but Trent Forrest got to play with Patrick Williams and Raekwon Gray and MJ Walker and Devin Vassell. Like, so it's easy to be a facilitator when you're playing with other great players and you're not expected to you don't have to carry the team. I'm not saying Florida State doesn't have some really nice pieces. I don't think they have a Patrick Williams necessarily, and I think Tommy is one of the playmakers. He is the playmaker. And I just feel like, yes, he needs to curb it some, but you don't want to curb it so much that you take away what makes him special. And there are some plays in that fourth quarter against Miami that are absolutely special. Now, yeah, I get it. They were down by 20 points when he was doing them. And he was one of the reasons they were down 20 points. But you don't want to just take that away from him. So I just think it's a matter of, I'm okay with almost everything he did in the game. He made some late throws. He didn't make some great reads. We get all that. That's life as a quarterback, man. They dropped him back like 60 times. The throws, the first down interceptions have to be done. He's had one against Virginia that was a killer, and he had one against Miami just throwing it up for grabs in the end zone on 1st and 10 at their 37, which is just something a 17-year-old wouldn't do. If they could just get rid of those two plays out of the last 130 that he's run, I feel like he's done okay. So I don't think it's that much to ask to tell him, look, man, first down, our number one guy isn't wide open. You are not the only guy on this football team. Throw the ball away and try again. I don't think that's that difficult to ask where you can still let him be himself.
Tom, can Gus break a meeting and be like, all right, everybody get out of here? Shuts the door and like, Tommy, listen, man, stop doing this.
Yeah.
And we win games. And like, it'll resonate with Tommy and he'll be much more responsible as a decision maker.
Well, they went over film together before the Alabama game late into the night, so they've had these types of meetings before. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's in his nature to be this player. I think there's a race that goes on every game. He'll make plays within the offense. That's going to happen for a percentage of the time. Then he'll make you right when you're wrong, as Gus would say. Bad calls, bad situations, and he'll get you out of them, and he'll make something out of nothing. And then he's going to make you wrong when you're right. There's going to be a percentage of plays that look to be drawn up. They're open. They're presented. The ball's not on time, or he doesn't see it, or he doesn't feel comfortable with it. And you end up with a negative play or a nothing play. The whole thing, where I agree with Corey, is you're looking for more nothing plays in that moment instead of negative plays. If he's indecisive or late or whatever it is. It's not to say that he can't improve, but I think what happened in the Miami game is you saw somebody who the game was pretty fast for, and he was sped up throughout that night, which is weird because in a similar setting against Alabama, the only difference was the sun was in the sky and the sun was not in the sky. He came out and he did not look like he was sped up. He looked ready to go and fully in time. Maybe that has something to do with the ankle. I don't know what it is, but whatever the case, he just looked a little bit off balance, I think, beyond the mistakes. I think he looked a little bit off balance between the ears. That's maybe something you could settle him down for. But otherwise, I think you're always going to have a Tommy Castellanos experience, which is sometimes plays look dead and he brings them back to life, and sometimes plays look open and you go, well, how the hell did we miss that?
But don't you think, both of you guys, that there's been more of the good than the bad in that sense? Like, he's made some bad plays wrong, but he's made a lot of really big-time plays when it wasn't necessarily blocked up well. Guys weren't open immediately. He avoids a rush. And I just go back to, like, man, that throw to Pittman in Virginia to go to overtime, that's a great play. That's a great play. To throw to Deuce in the second over. Like, he's made enough really good plays, and the only thing I worry about with him is if he lets those first 3 quarters against Miami kind of define who he is and deflate his confidence. If he can build on that fourth quarter, I don't think there's anybody left on the schedule that absolutely mortifies you that he would – because I just think he would – the moment – he got caught up in the moment more than he got caught up in the speed of everything. I just think it was like, man, Boston College versus Pitt at noon on a Saturday in Chestnut Hill ain't like Florida State Miami at night, and he's just not maybe quite used to this yet.
No, definitely a valid reason there. All right, so complimentary football needs to be the way forward and the way to get this thing back on track. So we spoke about the offense. Defensively, listen, when you're a member of Warchant.com, you get a sneak peek, as well as the folks on the YouTube side that are like our elite members or whatever we call them, Tom Lane. They get the sneak peek of the all 22 breakdown that you do with Dominic Robinson, father of the aforementioned Deuce Robinson. But so defensively, we hear football's a game of inches. Maybe it's not a little bit more than inches. It might be a yard or two, a step or two. How disappointing has it been, Tom, to see the defense be sloppy on the details? And how much of that is the coaches need to do a better job of stressing those finer points? How much of it do you think with what you and Deuce are able to glean is the players just have to be that much more dialed in and focused on their keys?
I think so. What's interesting is if you listen back to Tony White's press conference from post-Alabama after the win, he did lament that there were some miscommunications and misalignments in that game as well. It was on a successful day, but he was lamenting it in game one. It's been a consistent thing throughout in different places. I think, for example, the Virginia tape that Dominic broke down, that you can live with a little bit more because Virginia, in a lot of those circumstances, is playing with more tempo. And so if they're playing with a little bit more tempo and they've got a quarterback who can run, if you have a defensive lineman who's off by a half a pad or, like he's on the wrong shoulder, instead he's head up with a defensive lineman, is that good? No. But is it understandable? I think so. It's a little bit more understandable than, say, the explanation that happened against Miami where you've got defensive backs who are 3 yards off of where they should be pre-snap. Miami wasn't exactly rushing to the line. There was every once in a while they throw a changeup with tempo, but a lot of the game, you understood. There was time. It's time to gather and line up and get in place. And he lamented that Florida State's defensive backs were not. So I think the answer, Aslan, is kind of split up amongst the group. I think if you've got something with up-tempo, I can live with a defensive lineman being a little bit out of whack. That's exactly why Gus runs it on the other side. But if you're talking about in the back end of the field, that one's a little tough. That one's going to fall. It ultimately all falls on the coaches, but that one's a little tougher to stomach.
How disappointing has that been, Corey? Obviously, we wanted to see this team play physical, and they have mostly, but like things like alignment and assignment not being, buttoned up enough when you're going up against a Miami team, and now things are that much more crucial for you this time around. Has that been a surprise, or is that just kind of part of, you kind of postulating that this might just be a middle-of-the-road team if they don't hit their full potential?
Yeah, I think it's part of year one in a new system, a bunch of guys that have not played with him or for him before. And also, man, they put stress on you. Miami puts a lot of stress on you. And, again, there's a lot of guys on this defense that haven't been in these moments. And I think there's a world where you've played I think it's reality. You've probably played the 3 best offenses you're going to face all season already with the Miami, Virginia, and Kent State. That was a joke with the Kent State. Alabama's the other one. But I just think they were much more dialed in for Alabama for reasons everybody can understand. In that Miami game, I just think they did things that they weren't coached to do because of the moment. I just think they panicked a little bit in the moment, all of them. And also when you see Malachi Toney up close for the first time, or you see, is it C.J. Daniels is the other one?
Yep.
Yeah, you start to maybe you you go back a few more yards than you need to be because you're worried about them running right past you. And I do think it's an issue, but I don't doubt Tony White's ability to get this thing right. I do think he's a good coach, and I do think they probably face the three best offenses they're going to face, and it's hard to stop good offenses, especially, Tom, right, when you don't have necessarily – you're not loaded with NFL caliber defensive players, which I don't think they are on that side of the ball. I think they're loaded with pretty good players, but not NFL caliber like first or second day round picks.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you're looking for a response from game to game, you got one in terms of attacking the run and stopping the run. It's 24 yards on 12 carries in the first half. And by hook or by crook, it's 14 points at the break. I think anybody would have accepted that before the game kicked off. It's just that, the offense on the other side exacerbates it, and then the third quarter was the third quarter. But if you're just talking about those first moments in the game, was it pretty? No. But was it effective? Yeah. Miami is 14 at the break. Mission accomplished. 24 yards on the ground. Mission accomplished.
All right, well, let's see just how this matchup fares for Florida State. Yeah, Pitt's got a pretty salty defense, but they also got a true freshman at quarterback making his first road start in Doak Campbell Stadium. Feels like that's pretty favorable. We'll see just how favorable it could be next, right here on the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins.
A rebuild is in progress. Whether it's one of the top brands in college athletics or your adventurous spirit, we all need to recharge from time to time. So trust Cummins, the brand that's been a global power leader for over 100 years. Featuring the Onin line of portable power generators and power stations, tackle any project in your own climb to the top. Follow Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram to see the latest builds from the Cummins team and to get inspiration for your next outing. And get your questions into the Renegade Express mailbag. Be the one that's generating discussion to earn entry into the December grand prize drawing for a portable generator or power station from Cummins. Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. Give it a follow.
Welcome back. It's the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Come try us out for only $1 for a week, and then also get access to a full year of The Athletic. So even if you're a diehard Florida State fan, maybe you're just a diehard Florida State football fan, and you care about like hockey and basketball.
The Phillies, or you're a Phillies fan, you get the Athletic Phillies beat writer. You get to read all about your Phillies if you want. Hopefully they're out of the. By the time you're watching this, their season is over.
We got the NL East contingent here on this edition of the Warchant Report. And we also will be taking care of you folks before the game via a pregame show with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. That will air at 9 a.m. If you're in town, you can hang out with those two dudes, Jeff Cameron and the aforementioned Tom Lang, over at Hotel Indigo starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. Hotel Indigo is located in College Town. You can walk right to Doak Campbell Stadium. Piece of cake. It's the best way to get your day started as you head into the stadium to watch your Noles take on Pitt. Pitt is a bit of an interesting challenge for Florida State, and maybe a little bit of a challenge to talk about with our own Matt Lasser. His father's a Pitt alum, so he's got a little bit of a soft spot for the Panthers, but he's a professional. He catches up with our friends over at the On3 site that cover the Panthers to get the lowdown on Pitt.
Welcome back. Yet another week going over the opponent here on the Warchant Report. This week we have Nathan Breisinger of Pittsburgh Sports Now, the On3 Pitt beat site. Thank you for coming on, and we'll get started quickly here. Obviously, the biggest headline going into this game for Pitt is the quarterback change that happened last week, benching Eli Holstein and going to a freshman. What kind of spark did that bring, and what do you think he could do against Florida State this week?
Yeah, it was a very uncharacteristic move from Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt staff to do so, but yeah, he definitely brought a spark, and I think the big thing about Mason Heinchel is he played really well within the system. He took what was given to him, quick passes, getting the ball out, and that's what they like about him, but he can also stretch the field when you need him to, make the plays downfield, and another big thing about him is he's mobile, just like Eli Holstein was, just like the other backup Cole Gonzalez that is there for Pitt. But Heinchel just did everything right for Pitt in his first career start. I mean, it was a tall task to get thrown in there week 5, week 6, whatever it was. Pitt coming off of back-to-back losses to West Virginia and Louisville, and then he just did it all well. I mean, he did it all right for Pitt.
What else do we kind of need to look at from offensive weapons on this Pitt team? Reed has been out a couple weeks now. What's his status? Because that's probably the guy everyone thinks about when they think about Pitt in general when it comes to their offensive attack. What's his status, and what else should we look for?
Yeah, at this point for Reed, I mean, going into this one, he looks to be still about like 50% chance. I think he's going to be on Thursday listed as questionable still, but he's working his way back. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. I'm just not totally sure, but I think this is the type of game that you would love to see him get back in because it's a big matchup, of course, for Pitt as well, coming off the first ACC win of the year. But right now, offensively, at running back, behind him, it's been Joels Goff is a redshirt freshman, and then Ja'Kirian Turner is a true freshman. So a lot of youth there at running back, and it's slowly but surely come together at that position. Goff and Turner ripped off a couple of really good runs last week. You even saw Mason Heinschel throw an option pass to him, going out wide, which we really haven't seen with Holstein before. And Turner's really good to the outside. Goff's more of your up-the-middle type guy that can really pick up the chunk yards, but we haven't seen many explosives from them until this past game at Boston College. So running backs, you're looking at Joels Goff, you're looking at Turner, those two guys. If Reed cannot go, which, again, not sure at this point in time, I still say he's about 50% chance.
Yeah, they're flipping over to the defensive side of the ball. This is what Pat Narduzzi's known for, and bringing a lot of guys. It's been, from the Florida State side, that's been a big topic of discussion, is how is Florida State going to be blocking up front, again, when they're bringing a bunch of pressure like Pat Narduzzi likes to do. Who should we watch for? We'll start with the front seven.
Yeah, the big thing I think right now is the defensive end side of things. They're also banged up. You talk about the injuries. Yep. Zach Crothers did not play last week. He's a redshirt freshman. Blaine Spires, a transfer from Utah State, did not play also. And they've been this one guy that they're really high on, Jaden Moore, Oregon transfer. He is yet to play this year, and he won't play most likely against Florida State either. So they're real thin there, and they actually moved a defensive tackle out to DN for the time being, Isaiah Neal. And he's played okay. He's a slimmer guy in terms of defensive tackles, so he's got some speed, but he's a little bit bigger, so he's a good run stopper. The strength on this Pitt team has been their defensive tackle unit. Francis Brew, Nick James, Sean Fitzsimmons, three guys that have really played well, have always brought really good push for the most part this year so far. But then behind those guys, the linebackers, the top three returning guys at linebacker, and Kyle Lewis, the All-American, Rasheem Biles, an All-ACC guy, and then Braylon Lovelace up the middle. They've been pretty good too. Rasheem Biles, I think, has been the best in that unit. And that's even, topping the All-American in Lewis. And Biles has been really good. He had a pick six against Louisville for 75 yards. They're athletic. They're fast. They can play in coverage in the blitz as well.
What should we look at for the secondary, and how are they going to attack this Florida State wide receiving core? With
their corners should be healthy this week. I'd expect Tamon Lynham is a guy who's been out for a couple weeks. He should be back. Rashad Battle's back. He missed a couple games. So the depth is back there at cornerback. And they've played pretty well so far, but they've also faced a lot of ground-heavy teams. And Pitt did a good job of defending against the Eagles and Dylan Lonergan throwing through the air. The safety unit, that's where my concern lies right now with this Pitt team. Again, dealing with some injuries there. Javon McIntyre and Cruz Brookins, both starters. We'll see if they play. I mean, I'm not sure at this point in time. McIntyre was questionable, game time decision going into last week, and he played maybe like 10 snaps. He really did not play at all. Brookins is now in the same boat. He missed the second half against Boston College. Not sure where he stands exactly, but I wouldn't expect a ton of snaps from those two, but so they're going to really have to rely on the depth there.
Awesome, and thank you again, Nathan, for coming on. For our Warchant subscribers, Pittsburgh Sports Now, if you have a Warchant subscription, you can go look at all of their content and get all the inside info on the Panthers before going into this game. Anyway, again, this is Nathan Breisinger from Pittsburgh Sports Now. Thank you, Nathan, for coming on.
Thank you very much to Matt and our friends over at the On3 site that covers Pitt. We appreciate that. Corey, you had a story up on warchant.com on Wednesday about Mason Heinschel, the true freshman quarterback. And we always hear that cliche that, coaches use when they talk about their teams, right? They make their biggest growth from week 1 to week 2. I don't know if you can go macro to micro on that and have a player make their biggest jump from game 1 to game 2 in the middle of a season like Heinschel. But with that being his biggest growth, I guess, kind of possibility, can he find rhythm against a Florida State defense as a true freshman making his first start on the road in a place like Doak?
Well, I mean, if he plays better in this game than he did against Boston College, if he makes a big leap, the Noles are in real trouble because he looked really good, I thought, against Boston College, especially compared to what their passing offense looked without him. Holstein, who was the starter, who's a vet, I think he's a junior. He's been to college for 3 years. He struggled at times. He got benched. Then they just decided to go with the true freshman against Boston College. Now, Boston College is not good in any way, shape, or form, but numbers are numbers, and the kid competed. He was like, I think, 30 of 40. They had a true freshman quarterback throw the ball 40 times. Even when they were up by 4 or 5 touchdowns for a lot of that, they kept throwing. So that's going to be their MO. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden try to come in and run the ball down Florida State's throat, or I think they will. I think this kid's going to throw it a lot. I don't expect him to look – if he looks like he did against Boston College, that's great for Pitt and horrible for Florida State. Florida State is a better defense, a much better defense than Boston College, and a better football team. And Doe Campbell is a much harsher environment. So, look, what you heard from the players, though, all week was what an athlete he is. And I didn't quite get that vibe watching him when I watched him against Boston College. But, I think Deontay McCray called him explosive. And I'm like, all right, man, I guess he had a 13-yard run. I guess that's explosive, but he is watching him. I watched him for about a half in that Boston College game because I was genuinely curious. He is a cocky kind of gunslinger. I'm a badass quarterback, and I love those dudes. You love those dudes when they're on your team. It can be a negative though when you think you're a little bit better than you are, and you might have a little false sense of yourself because you played Boston College, and he is going to make some bad throws and some bad decisions and throw it into traffic. It's just a matter of if Florida State can take advantage. But I feel like you'd rather be facing Holstein because I just don't think he's any good. I have no idea what this guy is. None. I know he ran for 700 yards as a senior in high school. I also know he was in high school last year. So let's see if he can handle what he's going to see on Saturday.
When people think about Pitt, Tom, naturally they think about Pat Narduzzi, so they think about defense. PFF loves the Pitt defense. They've got more blue and green than Botswana. I think that's the colors on the Botswanan flag. Maybe it's Eswahini. I got to check my flag knowledge. But does Tom Lang love what he sees on film from this Pittsburgh defense? It feels like bad matchup. Feels like kind of a clone of a certain degree of what Miami does. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm not. Where are the favorable matchups, angles that you think Florida State can have offensively against this Pitt attack?
It's similar to Miami in the fact that they'll bring a lot of pressure, but they'll bring it in different ways than Miami does. Miami lines up a little bit more traditionally because they have those two awesome defensive ends as anchors, and then they can devise plans from there. Pitt will do some Tony White type stuff where you see guys with 3 hands in the dirt, 4 hands in the dirt, sometimes 2. And then they'll bring that pressure from the second level at a distance. Like it could be that the linebacker often is 5 to 6 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, and that's the guy that they're bringing on a blitz with another one of his friends from the other side. So the weak points here, I think, require Tommy to have quick answers. It's quick game. It's not necessarily bubble screens and tunnel screens. A lot of times it's just simple hitches. Like there was a sack that Tommy took in the second quarter of this game on Saturday in which he's waiting for Randy Pittman in the slot and Deuce Robinson all the way to his right to break off long developing routes, probably between 10 and 15 yards down the field. And he just had to eat it in that case because there wasn't enough time. Well, if you have a check with me or some sort of quick hitch there, that's an easy read and easy throw for Tommy. That's the thing that Florida State is going to have to break out from a passing standpoint. I watched the entirety of the Louisville game, which I think is the best offense that Pitt has seen so far. And Louisville had real trouble in the first half, but once they just started going to quick throws, quick hitches, that got them into a little bit better rhythm offensively. And then 2 things that Louisville hit in that game as well. One was a speed option, and another one was a classic Mike Norvell, Gus Malzahn kind of triple option look where you've got a jet motion, tight end releases, the quarterback rolls out, and then he's got a choice to run or make the quick pitch to the tight end. Things like that. The last thing I would say is Deuce Robinson is going to be in one-on-one an awful lot, so look for that back shoulder to be a part of the game plan. We know that Tommy hit it with great consistency against Virginia a couple of games ago.
All right, just stay out of those negative plays, right? Stay out of those negative plays. Things should be all right for the Noles. All right, one last thing to do. Last part's the best part. Predictions from the staff and the panel coming up next on the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins.
Coming soon. On the field, a resurgent Florida State football team, we all hope. And off the field, the Cummins own and QG 7000 IDF. The DF standing for dual fuel. That's right, a generator that can run on gasoline or liquid propane. Available later this year, the Onan QG7000i is a great fit for your Class A or fifth-wheel RV. In addition to the versatility of dual fuel sources, the QG7000i delivers world-class engineering from Cummins that results in low vibration, clean exhaust, and electric fuel injection for better efficiency and less maintenance. Follow Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram for more information and be the first to know when the QG7000i drops. Cummins, a world power leader.
Welcome back. It is the Warchant Report powered by Cummins. Last segment for Pitt Week means predictions. But before we get to predictions, a reminder, again, we are powered by Cummins. Give them a follow on Instagram. Cummins Lifestyle is all one word. Their own line of products. Man, get out there. Enjoy the great outdoors. The weather's getting to be fall-like in the South. I'm sure it's great everywhere else for like the last month, but we're getting to finally enjoy it. Get outside, have portable power on your side with Cummins and the Onan line of products. Cummins Lifestyle, all one word. Give it a follow on Instagram. We're going to make our picks, but first, we got a lot of people behind us that support us over at warchant.com. The remaining staff members offer us their predictions, and we begin with Mr. Gene Williams.
Florida State's looking to shake off that two-game losing streak. They will host the Pitt Panthers this Saturday at noon. Hey, Pitt is coming off a pretty good win against BC and just dominating them 48-7. But that said, a couple games before, they didn't look as good. They gave up over 30 points to both Louisville and West Virginia. So I think FSU will be able to move the ball offensively and hopefully shake off those turnovers that have been very prevalent the last couple of weeks. With that said, I think they've been able to move the ball up and down the field, score some good points. So give me the Noles, 38, visiting Pitt, 24.
I think this is going to be a pretty interesting game. I like Florida State to win the game, but I do think it's going to be interesting early. From everything we've heard, Florida State's had a good week of practice. They bounced back about as well as you can expect from back-to-back losses to Virginia and Miami. Certainly just a real emotional game and physical game this past week against Miami, so they've had to kind of turn the page quickly and get focused on Pitt. Because Pitt is as aggressive as they are defensively, because they do have a new look offensively, I do think this is a game where Florida State maybe have to kind of find their way a little bit early on. I don't think they're going to get out of the gates and have just a tremendous game and blow Pitt out. I think it's going to be a good game, but I do think the Noles will cover. I think Florida State's going to end up pulling away, winning this game 31-17. But again, I would not be surprised at all if in the first half, maybe at least through one quarter, that you're wondering what this game's going to look like. But I think the Noles are going to pull away in the second half. I'll go FSU 31-17.
Kind of feels like a big game. So the boys come out and play like it's a big game. Bounce back time for Florida State. Give me the Noles at home, 38, Pitt 17.
All right, for those of you who don't know, my dad went to Pitt, and this year we got this ball made for the game, and the winner gets to keep it. I do think I'll be able to keep it this year, and Florida State will win. Just freshman quarterback going into Doak, that even messed up Ty Simpson earlier this year, even though he's not a freshman, but in his first start in a game like that on the road. So, I'm kind of don't really believe the narrative of this spark going into for this Pitt team. They're also a lot more banged up than we think. There's the left side of the offensive line is having issues. The secondary's been having issues. So in general, I think Florida State will be able to pull this out. I've got it at 35-14 Florida State. I just don't think Pitt will be able to come in here and compete with the kind of athletes Florida State has. No matter really what's going on, it just doesn't feel right, especially with the injuries that they might come into Doak with.
Thanks to those gentlemen for their picks. Now it is our turn. Florida State taking on Pitt, high noon, Doak Campbell Stadium. As we sit here and hang out together, I think the line's like a 10.5 for Florida State. So, Vegas feels like the Noles should get back on the winning track. This should be the beginning of what we hope is a 3-game winning streak, Tom, and then your season is back in your grasp in Death Valley against Clemson. But you got to get past Pitt. Will Florida State get past Pitt with a dub?
I think you're going to be able to exhale after this Saturday's game, but I think you might have to hold your breath a couple of times before you do. This is going to be one of those weird ones. You were alluding to it in the question in the previous segment, Aslan, about the bad matchup of the defense, Pitt's defense against Florida State's offense. There could be some stagnation here. But I feel like tempo is going to be very important in this game. Can Florida State dictate and play at the speed they want to? If they can, Pitt won't be able to pressure nearly as much as they want to. They're going to have to play back, play coverage, play zone, and Florida State can exploit it at that point. I got Pitt covering this one, but I'll take Florida State 31-21.
All right. I'd be happy with that.
I did not. Did I really? Uh-oh. Sorry, buddy.
Uh-oh. Do you want me to go now then, Corey?
No, I got it. I agree with everything Tom said. I do think that it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be right there at the number. I will say 31-20. So the Noles will cover easily. You won't even be sweating that half point. It's going to be a no-brainer. I think, look, man, I think the season hinges on this game. I think the team knows this. I think the coaches know this. I hope the fans know this. This is an important game for the 2025 Florida State football team and, quite frankly, for the future of Florida State football. And if you have to go make a coaching search, you don't want to do any of that. You need this game. And I do think they're going to play with the requisite physicality and urgency that this game necessitates, because I know it's not Miami, but Pitt can play. And they got some dudes, they got some linebackers that can play and can run, and they're not a joke, and they can make life miserable for you if you let them. But it would be nice if Florida State comes out and plays well. I do think they're going to play relatively well and easily cover 31-20.
All right. I think there's like a predetermined explanation on my part. I think I just woke up and I'm just not happy about what things have been the last 2 weeks and the way they've looked. And I know they fought back in that fourth quarter against Miami, but I just think a lot of the things that they did wrong against Miami are probably going to happen again. Convinced myself that Cade Bell, the spawn of Kerwin Bell, is going to have some kind of Florida Gator voodoo on his side. Corey, think Deuce Span's going to come back here being like, I couldn't get on the field for you last year. You put me on scout team all year long. I did not appreciate that. And truthfully, man, I think that team is probably reinvigorated with that quarterback because they look so woeful with Eli Holstein that I think they all kind of realize that they need to play just a little bit better to keep that kid safe and level-headed, to make that extra play or two. I've got Pitt winning at 28-27. Hope I'm wrong, though, but
You're a dummy. I want to throw this out there for both of you because I was just thinking about it. Oh, man, the box score isn't here. Oh, here it is. So the last time a true freshman Pitt quarterback came into Doak Campbell Stadium, his name was Dan Marino. He was quarterback in the number 3 team in the country, and he ate an L that night, 36-22. And that team had, I believe, 5 NFL Hall of Famers on it, and they couldn't handle Doak. Now, it might have been a little different atmosphere, I'm going to say, but still, I don't think this guy's as good as Dan Marino. And if Dan Marino couldn't win in Doak, neither can Mason Heinschel.
As long as he's not Bachmeier, we're okay.
Yeah,
that's all.
No lie, that guy was incredible.
I need to go back and edit my pick now after that historical tidbit we always appreciate from Corey. You can come hang out with Corey, Tom Lang, and myself Friday over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway for a meet and greet starting around 5 p.m. Don't forget, pregame show 9 a.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. meet and greet, Hotel Indigo, College Town, Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. And then the postgame show with Gene Williams and Tom Lang, 10 to 15 minutes at the conclusion of the game. Then we'll have the Warchant wrap presented by Vitamin Energy, probably about 2.5 hours after the game goes final with Irish O'Fell and Corey Clark. All the voices, they've been doing this for decades, literally. Tom knows ball. It's all over at warchant.com. Give us a try. On behalf of the rest of the staff, we thank you for watching the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins.